Hello, today I'll be presenting Abraham Lincoln's Presidency by me, Caesar Alvarado. Abraham Lincoln's background, early life. Abraham Lincoln was born February 12, 1809, in the state of Kentucky by impoverished parents. After some time moving into the American frontier of Indiana, Lincoln's mother, Nancy Hanks, had died when he was only 9 years old. Later on, Lincoln's stepmother, Sarah Bush Johnston, further encouraged Lincoln's learning, and until Abraham Lincoln was 17, daily living in the rural American frontier consisted of poverty, hard work, farm chores, and reading near the fireplace. Abraham Lincoln's background, Part 2. Abraham Lincoln's education and political fascinations. After moving to New Salem, Illinois in 1831, Abraham Lincoln acquired a job as a clerk at a general store, a meeting place for its own townspeople, and an opportunity for Lincoln to learn about his community. Lincoln's hometown would describe him as bookish, being a self-taught young man who knew how to write and read, which were skills that were uncommon in the town of New Salem at the time. 1 year later, Abraham Lincoln ran for a seat as a legislator in the General Assembly of Illinois at age 23, but placed 8th out of the 13 candidates, which only elected the top 4. And although Lincoln had lost his election, it is recorded as his earliest approach to building a political career. Even though Abraham Lincoln had very little formal education, he continued to be dedicated to learning, reading law textbooks, shadowing other lawyers, and borrowing books when he can. Notably, Lincoln even argued that education is significant for a democratic society and should be made even more accessible for Americans. Abraham Lincoln's poem. A first-hand account of Lincoln's experiences as a child are documented via a reflective poem he had wrote, which is titled My Childhood Home I See Again, written in 1846. Some significant lines from this poem include, "My childhood home I see again, and gladdened with the view, and still as memories crowd my brain, there's sadness in it too. O memory, thou mid-world, twixt earth and paradise, where things decayed and loved ones lost." Further stating, "Now 20 years have passed away, since here I bid farewell to woods and fields and scenes of play." In my opinion, these details express a nostalgic sentiment Abraham Lincoln had for his childhood life, remembering both good and bad. Lincoln remembers family members he had lost, such as his own mother, as I previously mentioned, and reflects on the passage of time, bidding farewell to the activities/tasks that occupied him at a young age. Abraham Lincoln's rise to presidency. Abraham Lincoln's journey to presidency was not an easy achievement, as he progressed through major political positions and established a unique campaign platform. With perseverance, Abraham Lincoln was elected for the position of Illinois state legislator in 1834. Lincoln completed one term in Congress from 1847 to 1849, leading him to practice as a prairie or country lawyer during the early 1850s. In 1856, Lincoln would make himself a popular politician, as he would join the Republican Party, join the sectionalism argument, do several debates with Stephen A. Douglas, and officially establish an anti-slavery platform later into his presidency. Finally being nominated and winning the presidential election on November 6, 1860. Considering these events, Abraham Lincoln was seemingly a passionate individual who really enjoyed to express his opinion on recent matters, while also making sure to aid his country through the legal system. Abraham Lincoln's impact on Civil War. At the beginning of the American Civil War, with the Confederate attack on Fort Sumter on April 12, 1861, Abraham Lincoln was fast to send supplies to endangered soldiers. In the midst of this war, Lincoln held great responsibility in selecting capable generals, which he temporarily struggled on, creating strategic plans, approving weapon testings, and promoting or demoting officers. Additionally, Abraham Lincoln largely contributed to the official freeing of slaves, as the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, was an executive order claiming seizure of property from the rebellious southern states. Aside from supporting the fighting and legal efforts of the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln delivered the Gettysburg Address to the public on November 19, 1863. This speech was an emotional one that honored the soldiers who had lost their lives and comforted a nation that was at war with itself. Abraham Lincoln's speech. Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address was a speech that was delivered at Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, on November 19, 1863, and some significant lines from this speech include, "Fourscore and 7 years ago our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty, and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in the great Civil War, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure," later on stating, "It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these on our dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion." In reference to this Gettysburg Address, Abraham Lincoln makes a powerful callback to the Declaration of Independence, as the nation is divided and against itself, seemingly ignoring the foundational values of liberty and equality. Moreover, Lincoln makes a heartfelt commemoration of the soldiers who have lost their lives on the battlefield of the Civil War, acknowledging their efforts to the nation. Abraham Lincoln's legacy. Following the Union's victory in the American Civil War on April 9, 1865, Abraham Lincoln was assassinated on April 15, 1865. Ever since the loss of Abraham Lincoln, he has been largely remembered as a national hero and the most ideal president the United States has ever seen. Today, in the 21st century, the United States broadly recognizes that he freed the slaves and united the Union, but overlook what was done to achieve both goals. Notably, Abraham Lincoln should be commemorated for his character and determination to achieve the best for American citizens. For example, in the worst reality, Lincoln could have allowed the states to secede from the Union, compromised to allow slavery in exchange for unity, or put no effort in passing the 13th Amendment outlawing slavery, as he was not required to go so above and beyond. For these actions, Abraham Lincoln should be forever held as someone who exhibited leadership, patience, courage, empathy, and compassion. To conclude my presentation, I would like to thank you for listening, and the following are my works cited, including sources I have used for this presentation, including images. Once again, I would like to thank you for listening. Thank you.